Welcome everyone to this Horizon scan. Today Peter and I are talking about dynamic cloud. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time explaining to you what we mean by dynamic cloud and how it fits into this cloud environment. So Peter, we already have loads of different clouds, hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. Why don't you tell our viewers what we mean by dynamic cloud?
There are lots of different kinds of cloud. That is the point.
Yeah, yeah.
And the notion behind dynamic is that these different cloud options can play different roles within the supporting services that help a dynamic business achieve its ambitions in changing times. And rather than getting locked into this, that, or the other, or some combination of cloud, they're all relevant. They may all be relevant at some time, not necessarily all together, not necessarily all in the same blend over a period of time when circumstances change. But a dynamic business needs to be able to orchestrate all of those options and take from them whatever they need in whatever combination they need at whatever time they need it. That's the concept. So it's not a different kind of cloud, it's a different approach to cloud. Of course, that said, there are lots of different kinds of cloud coming along all the time. And why deny yourself the choice? Because you're locked into something that was the flavor of the month last, or the best thing last year. There are so many different options. There's a growing list of options. You need to be able to harness those and run with them for as long as they give you what you need and drop them when they don't. And so that dynamic cloud, as we see it, is the ability to choose and the flexibility to enact that choice at whatever time you need it. So this dynamic cloud is more about being dynamic than it's being about cloud, if you see what I mean.
I do see what you mean. So look, we talk to, on our day-to-day, basis, we talk to many, busy CIOs, busy CTOs, busy decision makers in general, and they're all, inundated with, the new thing, doing this, being told you should have this, being told you should do that. What are the indicators that those kind of people should start to look at, their ability to choose, their ability to be flexible? Give us some feel for the kind of things we're hearing that is making these type of people question that ability.
The two things are performance and cost. That's where the rubber meets the road for a lot of businesses. That's where all the legacy of yesterday's choices become a reality today and affect tomorrow. And sometimes the changing circumstances of a business that's going to market, for example, that's a journey from the lab to the marketplace. And when you start out, you've got no customers, and in the end, of course, customers are what the whole thing's all about. Well, that process requires a whole different set of approaches to where operations, paradoxically, being in the lab is all about trying new things and getting them to work. Operations for customers are absolutely not about trying new things. They're about making the old things work and work continuously so that they're reliable. And it's that shift and the shift in scale that can often uncover shortcomings in the way things had been done. And performance is sometimes not what you expect. Often not in whole, but in part, either because the service isn't used in quite the way you expect, or your service architecture and software doesn't respond in quite the way you expect. So as you add more uses, as there's more throughput, whatever scaling up means to you, but you may not get the performance you need, and that can need a different approach. And the other thing, of course, is the cost. That the cost of using infrastructure becomes different as you scale, and the dynamics of the way the cost scales with usage. Sometimes these things haven't got the curve you expect, and you find that the more you use, the more expensive it becomes. And we've seen customers where they're clearly within months of running at a loss because the costs have escalated faster than the income.
Yeah.
And they have to do something about that. So I'd say those are the two things that become apparent immediately. The other thing, there are other. It's sometimes hard to foresee with accuracy what customers require, and different customers, particularly large customers, have got a different approach to things like data security, what services they're comfortable with, what providers they want. You know, we've got customers who are on Amazon, and so they have customers who like Amazon. That's where they deliver their service. But then a new customer says it's got to be on Azure.
Yeah.
And we've got others who are exactly the other way around. It isn't that one's right and the other's wrong. It's just that customers have preferences. Oh, that's customers for you. And you know, you need to be able to be dynamic and be able to go with the flow. There's different geographical implications. You never quite know what those are going to turn out to be. Regulatory shifts, data protectionism comes along here and changes the game, but you never know quite how it's going to change it, or where, or when. All of those things are ways in which the real world can change and change what you have to do. And it isn't that any of these things are particularly wrong. It isn't that there's a wrong or a right. It's just the circumstances and the options change. I would say that probably the one thing to say is that the nature of technology services is much more complex than it was. There was a time when you just got a server and you plonked your software on it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, with everybody pushing for more and more functionality and more efficiency and effectiveness, you've got these different categories of technology load, and they can't all be best served by one large piece of muscle. You've got different kinds of data at rest and data that's dynamic, different kinds of computing, real-time transactional processing and background processing, all sorts of the way the service evolves, and particularly evolves in usage, can show up where these differences lie. And they each of them often need a very different approach from the kind of infrastructure service that will deliver it effectively. It might be that you need to put out a piece of processing for some particular function out to a specialist service that does that particularly well. It doesn't do anything else, mind you. It just does that well. Well, that's fine. I don't want to use it for anything else. This is all I want it to do. So you bring that service in for the duration of that process, and then release it. And all of this gets back to this dynamism.
Yeah. So am I right to characterize dynamic cloud as a positive view, a positive approach, you know, for our customers going forward, rather than a negative comment on the past?
Oh, absolutely. It's about pragmatism, flexibility, choice. This is all about about enabling the decision maker to do what it says on the tin, make decisions, and to avoid a decision maker cramping his style forcing him down a particular path. Service is a really interesting word. If you think of infrastructure as a service, and you need infrastructure so that you can provide service, well, a service that dictates to you is a bit of a contradiction, surely. A service should serve. And it can only serve if it's doing what you need it to do. Well, if it doesn't do what you need it to do, it can't be a service. Move on.
Yeah, yeah. So just explain a little bit of self-publicity. Just, help the people watching this just better understand why, we believe that Flexing MSP is the type of organization that can help our customers, improve their level of flexibility, improve their ability to choose, improve their ability to change. Just give us just a flavor for why you think we're that partner.
The single thing I think I would advocate is that we are agnostic. We can work with any of the technologies that are out there, any of the service providers that are out there, and deliberately so, because we believe a decision maker needs the flexibility to be able to draw on whatever is best for him. And so we don't have a list of products we're trying to sell. The usual thing where a customer says, "Can you help me?" and the salesman says, "Well, of course I can. What is it you want to buy?" And it's this accreditation, that certification. You look on the footer in the website, you see all the various things they do. Well, we don't have that, because we do whatever is right for the customer. So our process begins by trying to help the customer work out what they're really trying to do, what they really need to be able to achieve their objectives and ambitions. And that's what drives what we do. And we found that's quite unusual in the marketplace. And it doesn't mean that we can't do all the various hyperscalers and all the various different technologies. And we can do all of those. We don't know what the right combination for a customer is until we've asked a few questions. And it's only that determines how we can help.
Fantastic. I think that's a really helpful conversation, Peter. And I think you and I agree. We don't willingly add to the alphabet soup in this industry. And I think it's important we clearly explain what we mean by dynamic cloud, and the fact that this isn't a service. This is approach. It's a state of mind, and our ability to help people make those choices and being flexible as they want to be. So fantastic.
For technology and business decision makers to be able to choose and have the flexibility to get on with their business in the best way for them and at the time that's best for them. That's dynamic cloud.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thanks, Peter. Anyone who's watching this, if you'd like to continue this conversation with us, we would really encourage you to contact us. And as usual, at the end of this video, you'll find some contact details, and hopefully you'll join us again for a future Horizon Scan. Thanks a lot.